Hi everyone, welcome to Film Trooper Presents Film Marketing Fridays. Today is June 6, 2014, and I hope you can hear me. Sorry, let's switch out that microphone. Today we're going to talk about the sales sheet, and that actually equals our movie poster. So let me switch back over to me, and here I am. So yeah, I don't really have anybody here today because I kind of just threw this up real quick. If anybody's out there in Google Hangout Live world, I do have the Q&A up, so you can more than welcome to throw any questions that you have. So I follow Dan Sullivan and Joe Polish over at 10x Talk, and I love marketing through their podcasts and blog, and they're pretty much like renowned business coaches, entrepreneur coaches, and not internet, just marketers in general. And they work with a lot of big companies and people that are willing to pay, you know, lots of money for them. I think Joe Polish has something like the 25K club, where you pay $25,000 a year to be part of this unique training experience or something like that. And unless you can make $250,000 off that investment, you're not allowed back into the program. So they're used to dealing with like sort of high stakes individuals. But Mr. Dan Sullivan's been around for a while, and he has just a unique way of putting everything in perspective in terms of business and entrepreneurs. So I'm going to show you sort of based off this last podcast I had seen from him. Uh, he talks about the sales sheet that instead of, like I said, Dan Sullivan, 10x Talk, he does like a 10x program. Like you multiply your efforts by 10 times, everything. And he talks about the sales sheet. And who is Dan Sullivan? Like I said, you can just go to this link at 10xtalk.com and learn all about Mr. Sullivan. And all these, all this presentation will be turned into a PDF, so you can grab it later with the link that follows this live hangout, and you can get all these links. So don't worry about writing it down. You can grab the actual PDF when it's all done. So he basically was saying like, hey, don't make a business plan. You know, let's just cut to the chase. If you got a business idea, and for us as filmmakers, the business idea, the product is the film product, the film. You don't necessarily make a business plan. Just what is the one-page sales sheet that sort of sums up what you will be selling? So, like I said, can your business be summed up with a one-page sales sheet? And this is sort of your visual elevator pitch. So the question is how to make an effective sales sheet. So I included this link here, and we'll go to this link actually right now. Let's see here. Boom. Let's bring this puppy out here. Okay, so this is a blog. Sorry for the delay here. So it's actually a pretty good blog here. This is just a designer talking about these designs. And I will zoom in to this so you can kind of get a better idea what it looked like. This one company, he preserve foam, and again, you can read more about this at the blog.pssprint.com. It's about printing and designing posters and designing the sales sheets. And you can see how simple it is. I mean, right away you get the idea of what each person is selling. Preserve foam, they're giving you where to get the manufacturing of foam, so that's good to know. And if you go down here to even something as obscure as a device that actually makes horse hooves, but you can see the sales sheet. It's like, hey, we've been around since 1951. Here's our address, and this is what we do. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. So when we start thinking about our own films, like we kind of just cut to the chase and just make sure we have an effective sales sheet, which is our poster. Again, these are just other companies. Here's a very clean sheet. You've seen a lot of websites actually like this, just real quick. They do this. Here's the service they provide, maybe 3, 4 bullet points. The next step, the next step. It's very clean. It's very easy to understand. And if, in order for you to learn more, you say, there's a call to action. And this one in particular is like get started with this particular company, Escape Beer. So for films, we probably, our call of actions on our film posters or movie posters will be the URL at the bottom. And so that's something to think about. Then we've got, look at these products. Obviously, we've seen a lot of cosmetic or beauty products, So we actually see the products photographed. Again, this is important. They're not taking video stills. These are, high resolution photographs so they can get the best quality they can. There's a lot of white space, or enough white space, but there's enough text that explains what this product is that you can make a decision as a buyer or customer whether or not you want to look into getting this product, this sunscreen product at all. So we move down again. This is, here you go. Just boom. This is an energy drink. I mean, as blatant as it is, Raw Dog, with all the nutrition facts behind it, and where to find information about Raw Dog. I mean, this is a straight up sales sheet. You meet somebody in the elevator, you say, hey, what do you sell? He goes, boom, here it is. Check out this one sales sheet. Then they know exactly what you're selling, and they can make a determination from there. Soft, soft like carpeted sandals. I mean, there it is. Step rugs, test drive flip-flops. So that the feeling you get when you're walking on carpet made into a flip-flop. So, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, now we could think about the films. So here's another product, Home Smokehouse. They let you know exactly sort of all the different types of sausages that they sell. And again, it's all in one sheet. It's attractive enough. You know what you're getting. You just cut to the chase. If you're into guns, Carver 1. I mean, just cuts to the chase, like, hey, this is a gun we're selling, U.S. Army strong. Okay, so let's go back and see how this applies to, again, this link will be in the PDF, so you can grab this. So here we go. So, let's see, return to full screen. There we go, full screen. So the next thing is like, well, our sales sheet is our movie poster. So the question is, you only have one image to sell your film, pretty much. You get this one poster to sell your film. And maybe even before you write your script, I remember coming up with my movie idea that I came up with an outline, and then I already knew what the poster looked like. And I was trying to make sure that the story was going to match the poster. So we're sort of reverse engineering the whole marketing product process. So we can take a look at some indie movie posters. This is going to be helpful to see, like, if you make a poster, how does it compare to everybody else's poster? If a customer comes, an audience, a potential customer comes into the site, and when they're comparing it to other movies, does it stand out or not? So we get to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's go to Vimeo. Boom. We're going to go to Vimeo. As this loads up. Okay, cool. So we'll just browse their thriller section because you'll see the posters easier that way. A through Z. And I will, so a lot of us, I'll zoom into this a little bit so you can see it better. Okay, so as we scroll through this, this is pretty good because one of the things I like about sort of indie films is, one, if you don't necessarily see the stars, because a lot of independent films don't have stars, so when they put pictures of, let's see, find somebody, like this particular movie, I don't know who any of these people are, and probably either do you. And I'm not familiar with a Mike West. He might be an actor we've known before, but he may not be. You can see, like, there's certain actors or movie posters that show up that have actors in them that it resembles sort of like a bigger Hollywood action film, but um, but because we don't know who the actors are, it's almost like it detracts from the sale. So you're almost better off just maybe showing a picture of a gun or something if it's an action film. Like this is pretty straightforward. It's like here's a horror film, knife, blood, canvas the night. They're not showing. They put some people's names up here, but I don't know if they're stars or not, or they're just playing into the egos of those who are on the film. Um, so maybe it's not, sometimes maybe it's good just not to keep the actors' names if they're not stars, and just put them down in like a small crawl, like over here. Like so, if somebody really wants to read into it, they can. Here's another thing about look at these fonts here. Obviously, this is like just straight up like a maybe a um, more of a travel documentary style film, but you can tell by this font use here. This is sort of like just taking straight out of like a image processing program, and it doesn't have the same sort of feel like a some typography here or something like that. So let's take a look some more, just so you get an idea. Like the question you have to ask yourself, like, does the poster evoke a sense of quality to you that you would want to watch the film? Like this particular looks good. They're doing the right thing. They've got their laurel leaves from the film festivals they've been in, and I have no idea whether or not they're reputable film festivals, but the poster itself is nice because it's H.P. Lovecraft's The Color Out of Space. It's just a nice um, design of a poster that you may just want to click on and see more about it. This is straightforward. I think it kind of tells you what's going on, probably for the lesbian, gay community in terms of their target audience, but it's designed nicely. Let's see. Let's try to find some that may just be like somebody sort of just put it together. Let me go to the next one. Yeah, here's something. Oh yeah, here's something interesting. You never want to try to use the actual still clips from the video feed because it just doesn't look good. It actually looks cheap, and you want to have separate photos taken of your actors if you're going to use actors or whatever it is that you're putting together so that it looks as professional as possible. So something like this, Force of Mystery, it might be a cool film. It's on TiVo, it's on iTunes, but just the fact that you can kind of tell that they grabbed actual footage from the HD files, it sort of kind of comes off a little cheap as opposed to maybe something like California Scheming. You can tell that this is a polished, photography shoot. It ha it has the quality is a little bit something that we can identify with as okay, it's not something like some guys just kind of put together. It's something intriguing enough. Obviously, it's maybe not a star, but it is an attractive girl, or she's interesting. Um, like this one here, I'm not familiar with the stars on this movie here. Maybe there are, but they're older actors, and the way it's done is nice. And we've probably seen this enough, but you can kind of tell in this movie, The Guide, you know, it looks like a drama. There's a gun involved, a rifle, out in the wilderness probably. We'll see what that's all about. Now, oh here we go. So this movie, Bloodline, might be pretty cool. But I think the poster could have done better if we just saw maybe Bloodline and some mystery to what this is about. Because we have actors here, and it looks like it's the photos have been taken from the actual HD files, and it's looking less than professional, less than intriguing. Whereas this film right here, it's just real simple. It's called Low, but you can tell somebody took the time to paint a really impressive, poster. So the quality sort of just, adds to the intrigue, and you got to kind of figure out how it all compares. So I'm going to go also to let's go to Indie Rain, because they've got a pretty good little selection. of photos or like posters you can see all together and how it compares. So a lot of times, some people might just be seeing films like this, where you're just an audience is just bombarded like, oh, well, look at all these films I get to, get to rent or buy, and I'm sort of overwhelmed. Which one does my eye is drawn to? So you have something like, this is, kind of stands out sometimes. It's, you know, real simple, complex, and you read some more about it. But um, let's see here. I'm trying to find like some colors that might be striking. Sometimes yellow pops out when it's in a small frame, so you can kind of think about things like that with your poster. These are actually pretty nice, posters put together. This one called Undercover, has design to it, an element to it. This is where you get a little bit like, I'm not too sure if who this particular actress is, but let's see some more films. I think you can get the idea of like, well, what makes a good movie poster, and where do you stop yourself if you're putting together, um, a poster that is kind of half-assed, really. Well, here's a poster for you. Bikini Babes director favorites. I don't even think they're trying with the I don't even know what they're selling on here. Bikini Babes slow-mo favorites. Obviously, by these thumbnails, their posters are like, not only is our poster looking cheap, but I'm guarantee you the models we got in this thing are going to be pretty cheap. So you're already in the mindset of like, okay, the quality is going to be low. This is pretty cool. I remember the director and the filmmaker through Twitter talking to me about Profile of a Killer. This poster looks really good because even though it may not be a star, the photos were taken or did a really good job of redoctoring or photoshopping, artistically, the HD footage, and just getting right to the point. We have a young man who looks like the killer, abducting somebody else. So even though they're not the star, it's the intensity of the look and the design of the poster add to the quality of it. And if you see some of the trailer, it looks pretty good. Now, trying to see some other ones where you can just kind of, we've been to video stores before, or we browse through, and you can totally, like if you come across a film based off the poster, based off the cover art, whether or not what you're up against, what you're about to get into. Um, let's see here. Let's see. I think like, what's a good looking poster? I always like posters something like this. This is a foreign film I can't pronounce, but I do like design. I like a lot of open negative space. It seems to work well. It seems to some sort of pop out of screen. Again, you have to make your poster design to what your film is or what your genre is. My goodness gracious, Indie Rain has got a lot of these Bikini Babe movies. I guess there's no discretion. You just throw it up there. If it sells, it sells. Um, let's see here. This is good. I mean, in a sense, you can kind of tell it's still like low budget. This looks like a thriller film, crime thriller. Supari, The Quest, foreign film. I'm looking for some more design things. Oh, here, this one might be. Let's take a look at this film here. Almost a Turkish soap. If you look closely at this film, it looks like they just grabbed still frames from the movie, and that's sort of become their poster. There's not a lot of stars, maybe but maybe it's they're famous in Turkey. Who knows? But I think you can take the time if you're making all this effort to make a movie, and you only really have one shot at selling your idea to somebody. Your poster is fairly important because if Dan Sullivan, a hugely successful business coach, is telling us that it's all about the sales sheet, then we definitely have to take serious consideration that our poster is our sales sheet. So moving on, we can kind of talk about what makes a good movie poster, and go into this. So yeah, what makes an effective movie poster then? Well, number one, you got to know your purpose. you know, and genre. What are you selling? You're selling a documentary, so what kind of a poster does that look like? A horror film, a comedy, all this type of things. You have to understand sort of what the purpose is, and you have to know your target audience. So when you're going to the design of it, the location where your poster is going to be and sort of the size of your poster. Is it going to be a thumbnail like we just saw in Indie Rain, where people might be scrolling on their phone? So, maybe less text and more bold colors or something to pop out that can communicate very effectively, what your movie's about. What is your sales sheet? Um, keep it visual, but do tell if it's necessary. So you might have a couple different versions of a poster where you actually have to tell somebody, like, where's it playing? If it's playing locally because you're having a local premiere, all that information has to be legible enough within the poster that it directs them to a call of action that's going to send your potential customers or audience to see the film. If it's a website, same type of thing. Obviously, the aesthetic, tone, and flow. Um, if you're just kind of doing it yourself, or you feel like you kind of know Photoshop a little bit, I mean, there's a reason why some top designers get paid big bucks, is because they're good at it. And I'm going to show you some other examples later on where you can um, basically sort of steal from other successful posters that you like, and just don't try to throw together a poster just because you kind of have to put something together, because that'll just like lower the quality of your sales sheet and your effort to sell your film. There's another SlideShare program that I'll share the link later on coming up. I'll show you. They mention that you need to have attention, interest, desire, and action. AIDA, AIDA. So just remember that when you're building an effective movie poster. Are you grabbing attention? Does it have any interest to an outside, viewer? And does it evoke any sort of desire to take some action? So this is a pretty good blog. Here's some examples. I really like this blog this guy put together. And I was mentioning, like, he really does a good job breaking down from a designer's perspective of what makes an effective poster. So again, this link you guys can check out later, but I sort of just pulled a lot from what he did. He talked about know your purpose, know your target audience, location of poster. And this is, again, from somebody who works as a designer in the printing world. And so it's good to know what they kind of go through. So you'll have that link. And then, whoops, let's see here. Oh yeah. And then SlideShare is kind of cool because somebody else had put together a very extensive breakdown of what makes an elements of a successful movie poster. And this is a cool little link to basically a PowerPoint slide that you can check out. And he brings up this term, the AIDA, attention, interest, desire, and action. And he goes through these different examples. So you'll have this link as well. But really I want to get to this thing. Okay, so let's talk about what not to do. I mentioned before, if you can at all, do not use stills from your HD footage or the footage that you take, and then you just do like a Photoshop rendition of it. Actually take the time to, I'm just going to make this, change this microphone, hold on. There we go. Sorry, the microphone was falling down. Don't use stills from your HD footage. Do try to take the time. I mean, most of us are probably using like DSLRs or something to the equivalent, so you should be able to start taking proper production stills or take the time to construct a poster based off some movie scene. Don't forget about that type of stuff. And my thing is, like, don't show the actors unless they're stars. I mean, that's maybe just a general rule, because you're showing an actor because sometimes they're a unique selling proposition or a selling point to help sell your film. Like if you have some famous actor or a name actor in your film, you're going to want to show their face to kind of give you social proof that you've got something worth checking out. If you don't, then it comes off a little bit like independent sort of vanity, where it's, somebody might look at it and go, I don't even know who that person is, but it's like it's designed the same way as like some other action posters or horror posters. But you know, maybe a rule of thumb is if you don't have name actors, just don't show them in the posters. Um, but if you do use it, your actors, then make sure that maybe they're hot or interesting. First, sex sells. Both men and women. If it's done well enough, where it's intriguing enough, and it does spur interest, then by all means. But if they're just set up in the same sort of um, composition that you see with other big budget movie posters, then it looks a little bit more like vanity and just kind of serving like this dream ego as opposed to actually having any real value in the sell. And again, this is our sales sheet, so we got to think in terms of that in that process that our movie poster is our sales sheet. And don't use standard fonts. Definitely typography is an art, and respect the font, respect the format, and get somebody who's good, or copy from posters that you really admire and learn from that. Just don't start plopping in text and thinking like, oh, I guess this would work, because it just doesn't. It just comes off really cheap. And then of course get some feedback. If you got some posters ideas, designers have to do that. They have to kind of put together like a couple different, examples, and then from the examples, everybody can kind of get an idea like, oh, we like this direction, and they build it off from there. So definitely get some feedback even for your poster, because really for the first, I don't know, couple months of your production, you probably want to have your elevator pitch together, your log line, your tagline of what your movie's about, and it'd be kind of cool to have a poster. Even if you haven't shot anything yet, you can still make a poster, because if you can still make the first iteration of the poster, it still sells your idea. You have this something you can throw onto Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Google Plus, of course, just to start selling the idea and getting feedback just from a simple poster, whether or not somebody says, yeah, that looks kind of cool. Here's my takes on it. I didn't have anybody, famous in the film, obviously, and it's super low budget. But I remember taking the time to take proper photos of the cube, the red wooden block, and the first one on the left was kind of like the ending scene of the movie, so it sort of ties in. And I wanted to make as simple as possible. And it, of course, is black because it is sort of a supernatural suspense movie. However, the evolution of the poster, being that I'm trying to reach out to those who might be interested in Buddhist-laden themes or have some aspect of Buddhism in it, I put the actual Buddhist poster in it. But again, these are actual photos that I've taken. They're not taken from a HD video still. I'm not showing any actors in it because we don't have any, name actors or anything like that that would help the selling proposition. And in trying to focus on just sort of the supernatural suspense aspect of it, this is what I came up with, trying to keep it clean. And the difference is, on the left side, I just try to put together a tagline. A cube arrives at the door, then another, then another, then another as it disappears. But I realized that I have an opportunity. I didn't get to go to any film festivals because I chose not to. Instead, I used pseudo-famous people's testimonial, and I put that on the left side, which says, the cinematographer of Portlandia says it's a short, sweet, thoughtful indie, engaging and humorous. And then below is a great example of no-budget filmmaking, Randall Johnson, the screenwriter of The Doors. So I have sort of, industry professionals giving me some clout on the film. So it's small, and it's meant that way. So if you click on it, you might be interested in it and go from there. But again, I'm not pulling from HD footage. I'm not, the font is sort of a clean font. It's basically Helvetica, but it's all cleaned up and stretched out to kind of fit the frame of the film of the poster. And then I have a bit of call to action on the bottom, as you can see on the right side, which is you go to thecubemovie.com. The one on the left-hand side doesn't have any call to action. It's sort of more traditional, and there's some credits on the real small print, but it's sort of just, it was done to sort of create the aesthetic that people are used to seeing what movies posters look like. So Here's some other great links that you guys can take with you. Um, Filmmaking stuff. Jason Brubaker had a guest designer write a blog post on his site, which was really good, about making movie posters in this new digital VOD landscape. And so that's worth checking out, so you'll get that link as well. Chris Jones over in England has a really great blog post on how to create a movie poster and or what makes an effective movie poster, and you can check out that link as well. I like this one. I'm going to show you this one. So Simon C's blog. This is the designer that was, I think, commissioned to create a movie poster. So I'll give you a preview of this. So he's zoom into this so you get a better idea. Oops. Yeah. So he here he is. He talks about like taking the photographs and designing this you know, this movie poster for New Dawn. Extinction is not an option. It's a very cool looking poster. Let me zoom down. I'll do this. He talks about in his brief what he needs to do, what the movie poster essentials were, um, you know, what the requirements for him were. But this is really cool because he shows his inspiration from these other movies. One from Day Watch, one from Kablooey, and another one from Sandra Bullock's film Premonition. Now, it's an interesting thing that he brought in Kablooey here, because then most of you may not even heard this film, but because of this particular poster, that this strange-looking blue character on the side of the street with a lot of open space, sort of out in like Iowa, you know, I was actually drawn to this film just because of this poster. And then I went to see the film. It has Lisa Kudrow in it and so on, I believe, yeah. It was just a cute little sort of indie, like dramedy. But because of the poster, it made me go watch the film. But it sort of set up the interest, and I just wanted to point out like how much that spawned me and to check out something just because of the posters. And then he goes on this blog post again. It's real great. Tools of the trade, his techniques, his colors. You know, he was looking at other colors from other famous films, from Zodiac to the X-Files to The Invasion, you know, and then he gets into typography, and then he did this mock-up of what his poster would look like at a bus stop or something, like how would it read, you know. But you can see where he drew his inspiration. So I think this is a really great blog post if you're going to start designing your own poster and try to make sure you're not executing all the don'ts. You know, don't make it cheap. You know, spend some time. Design is essential. It's really, really important, and your sales sheet's really, really important. And this is our sales sheet, the poster. So you'll get this link too, like I said. And then there's also this other great link from the Creative Block. It's an outline of like 25 movie posters analyzed by designers and why they think it's a great design or effective poster. So you get that. And let's see here. Where are we on this? Oh yeah. So that's about it for today's sort of Film Marketing Fridays, just going over the sales sheet, aka equals your movie poster. And again, you can get this downloadable PDF slide share so you can get all the links so you can check it out yourself. But like I say, at the end of every Film Marketing Friday, you know, don't go away empty-handed. You can always grab yourself a free gear guide at freegearguide.com. And again, this is just an equipment guide of everything that I made, everything I used to make this micro-budget film, The Cube, for $500 with no crew. So I'm going to go pop over back to my big fat head real quick. And let's see here. There it is. Yeah, so those of you who are here live, probably none of you, because I did a terrible job of of promoting this. It was sort of like last minute this morning. It's actually been kind of an interesting, busy last week and a half. I got put on some animation project that's kind of taken me out of the loop of my regular schedule. But that's some of the things you do when you work freelance, and you get an opportunity. Sort of just have to put your nose to the grindstone and make it work. Try to join me next week for I'd like to have more of a engaging audience, but just besides myself. and I'd love to help any of you out with any questions you have. Again, I might not have all the answers, but if you give me enough time, I can at least do some research and try to put everybody sort of in the right direction, or have that discussion point, and we can work this out together as we just take this journey of learning how to build an audience for your film, learning how to market to that audience, techniques that we can do on our own, working in the online marketing space, and giving us ourselves a chance to be somewhat successful selling our online goods. And our online goods are our film products. And there's probably, and we'll learn together like different ways that we can make money, make a sustainable living doing so. So thanks so much. It's about 40 minutes I think I'm into this thing. So as always, just hit me up. Just go to filmtrooper.com. Thanks for checking out Film Marketing Fridays.